Hey, what's up, YouTube? Dillio T2K. Synth-based philosophy. Synth-based philosophy. I'm going to just do a quick talk about synth bass, or synthesizers for that matter. You know, these are some thoughts about some products that just came out. Not the most recent products, but they're products that are really good at what they do, and why I, at the end of the day, want one over the other. Native Instruments released this analog synthesizer plugin called Monarch. Now, this is a synthesizer plugin that's based on the Mini Moog, and it has 3 oscillators. The third oscillator can be an LFO, and right off the bat, it sounds incredible. It sounds very warm. It has a very raw tone to it. I can hear the synth drift, and I'm hearing things that I don't really get to experience with a plugin like Massive. And I was kind of appalled because I thought that Massive would be something that could give me the type of sound that Monarch could give me. But the problem is that it takes a lot more effort and work and tweaking of Massive to just simply turn the wheel of Monarch and get this warm bass sound, or this warm synth sound. And it's a night and day difference. And you can pull up a saw wave on Monarch and play a low note, and you're gonna get something just, for lack of a better term, massive. But then I pull up a saw wave on Massive, the plugin Massive, drop it down, and unless I do some things to it, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing, But that's the thing. And then Moog recently put out a keyboard called the Sub Fatty, and it's kind of pricey. And I finally laid hands on it for the first time not too long ago, and man, that thing sounded great. The frustrating factor was that it was on these little Guitar Center demo speakers that totally don't give you the whole experience of something that has incredible low end on it. But I'm listening to this Monarch, I'm like, man, if this has this much low end on it, and I'm listening to it in my studio with the sub running, what does a Sub Fatty offer? It's a real life analog synthesizer. And I want to add it to my collection of keyboards. I want to be able to say that Dillio super producer owns a Moog synth. And that's been the thing I've been doing lately, is kind of wanting something more physical to play on when I make my music, which is why I transitioned from FL Studio to Machine and gave up so much functionality. Please believe that there's so much more functionality in FL Studio than Machine. Trust me on this. But FL Studio didn't offer the physicality, a play button, a stop button. I don't want to use a space bar to hit play and stop. I want to hit some pads. I want to turn some knobs. And Machine integrates with Monarch pretty decently with it. But it's a virtual knob. It's still virtual, and it's still a plugin. And I know it's an expensive synthesizer, and this is one of their cheaper products, because their Voyagers are like the price of a used Impala. Okay? But the experience of having something physically there that that circuits are inside it generating analog signals, that excites me. If you're a synth guy, the importance of that. And I'm not against sample-based waves and algorithms being generated by a processor on a computer, but I guess it's just something cool to me about having something there physically making electricity. And I want that experience of clicking those knobs. And I felt that Sub Fatty. It doesn't feel like a toy. It feels like a machined, professional piece of equipment that can take a beating. It just feels like very solid. It's hard to explain. The keys, the way they feel when you push them. And that's the experience I'm looking for, and I think that inspires creativity. I believe it stimulates the mind, gets the gears going, makes you want to try something new. And maybe there might be a little bit more flexibility in the Monarch. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've tried them both enough to really get a full idea. I just know that I prefer, a physical synthesizer. I'm really starting to enjoy what analog brings to the table. And it's something you don't really, you can't really appreciate it till you hear it. Like I've always known about analog. I went to a studio in Atlanta. I've heard the tape playback, and I'm like, wow, that's warm and stuff like that. But that wasn't in my reach. But having something like Monarch kind of showed me, hey, okay, this is the emulation of analog. And I've been looking at Moog videos way before I started paying attention to them. I'm like, oh, okay, let me try out this Monarch. And it sounds good, and it gives me an idea. But I still want something physically there in front of me to help inspire creativity. But in the meantime, I may try Monarch some more and, tweak that and put that on some songs. But ultimately, I want to use the Monarch for synthesizing, tweaking something, talkbox, definitely, so a little bit of a synthesizer philosophy there. I'm out. Peace.